Hello, friend, and welcome to Sweet Dreams Stories. I'm Ruthie Hart. Please follow us and subscribe on our YouTube channel and join our Facebook group, Sweet Dreams Stories. Today our story is called Hans Clodhopper by Hans Christian Andersen. There was once an old mansion in the country in which lived an old squire with his 2 sons, and these 2 sons were too clever by half. They had made up their minds to propose to the king's daughter, and they ventured to do so because she had made it known that she would take any man for a husband who had most to say for himself. These 2 took a week over their preparations. It was all the time they had for it, but it was quite enough with all their accomplishments, which were most useful. One of them knew the Latin dictionary by heart, as well as the town newspapers for 3 years, either forwards or backwards. The second one had made himself acquainted with all the statutes of the corporations and what every alderman had to know, so he thought he was competent to talk about affairs of state. And he also knew how to embroider, for he was clever with his fingers. "I shall win the king's daughter," they both said, and their father gave each of them a beautiful horse. The one who could repeat the dictionary and the newspapers had a coal black horse, while the other, who had learned about politics and embroidery, had a milk-white one. All the servants were assembled in the courtyards to see them mount. But just then the third brother came up, for there were 3. Only nobody made any account of this one, Hans Clodhopper, for he had no accomplishments like his brothers. "Where are you going in your fine clothes?" he asked. "To court, to talk ourselves into favor with the princess. Haven't you heard the news which is being drummed all over the country?" And then they told him the news. "Preserve us, then I must go too," said Hans Clodhopper. But his brothers laughed and rode away. "Father, give me a horse. I want to get married too. If she takes me, she takes me, and if she doesn't take me, I shall take her all the same." "Stuff and nonsense," said his father. "I will give no more horse to you. Why, you have got nothing to say for yourself. But your brothers are fine fellows." "If I mayn't have a horse," said Hans Clodhopper, "I'll take the billy goat. He is my own, and he can carry me very well." And he seated himself astride the billy goat, dug in his heels, and galloped off down the high road. Whew, at what a pace they went at! "Here I come!" shouted Hans Clodhopper as he sang till the air rang. The brothers rode on in silence. They did not say a word to each other, for they had to store up every good idea which they wanted to produce later on, and their speeches had to be carefully thought out. "Hello!" shouted Hans Clodhopper. "Here I come! See what I've found on the road!" And he showed them a dead crow. "What on earth will you do with that, Clodhopper?" they said. "I will give it to the king's daughter." "Oh yes, I would do that," they said, and they rode on laughing. "Hello, here I come! See what I've found! One doesn't find such a thing as this every day on the road." The brothers turned round to see what it was. "Clodhopper," they said, "it's nothing but an old wooden shoe with the upper part broken off. Is the princess to have that too?" "Well, yes, indeed, she is," said Hans, and the brothers again rode on, laughing. "Hello, hello, here I am," shouted Hans Clodhopper. "Now this is something wonderful." "What have you found this time?" asked the brothers. "Won't the princess be delighted?" "Why," said the brothers, "it's only sand picked up out of the ditch." "Yes, that it is," said Hans Clodhopper, "and the finest kind of sand too. You can hardly hold it." And he filled his pockets with it. His brothers rode on as fast as they could and arrived at the town's gates a whole hour before him. At the gate, the suitors received tickets in the order of their arrival. All the other inhabitants of the town stood round the castle, peeping in at the windows to see the king's daughter receive the suitors. And as each one of them came into the room, he lost the power of speech. "No good," said the princess. "Away with him." Now came the brother who could repeat the dictionary, but he had entirely forgotten it while standing in the ranks. The floor creaked and the ceiling was made of looking-glass so that he saw himself standing on his head. And at every window sat 3 clerks and an alderman who wrote down all that he had said, so that it might be sent to the papers at once and sold for a halfpenny at the street corner. It was terrible, and the stoves had been heated to such a degree that they got red hot at the top. "It's terribly hot in here," said the suitor. "That's because my father is roasting cockerels today," said the princess. Bah! He stood like a fool. He had not expected a conversation of this kind, and he could not think of a word to say, just when he wanted to be specially witty. "No good," said the king's daughter. "Away with him!" And he had to go. Then came the second brother. "There's a fearful heat here," he said. "Yes, we are roasting cockerels today," said the king's daughter. What?" said he. And the reporters duly wrote, "What did what?" "No good," said the king's daughter. "Away with him!" Then came Hans Clodhopper. He rode the billy goat right into the room. "What a burning heat you have here," said he. "That is because I'm roasting cockerels," said the king's daughter. "That is very convenient," said Hans Clodhopper. "Then I suppose I can get a crow roasted too." "Yes, very well," said the king's daughter. "But have you anything to roast it in? I have neither pot nor pan." "But I have," said Hans Clodhopper. "Here's a cooking pot." And he brought out the wooden shoe and put the crow into it. "Why, you have enough for a whole meal," said the king's daughter. "But where shall we get any dripping to baste it with?" "Oh, I have some in my pocket," said Hans Clodhopper. "I have enough to spare." And he poured a little of the sand out of his pocket. "Now I like that," said the princess. "You have an answer for everything, and you have something to say for yourself. I will have you for a husband. But do you know that every word we have said will be in the paper tomorrow? For at every window sit 3 clerks and an alderman, and the alderman is the worst, for he doesn't understand." She said this to frighten him. "Then I must give the alderman the best thing I have." And he turned out his pockets and threw the sand in his face. "That was cleverly done," said the princess. "I couldn't have done it, but I will try to learn." So Hans Clodhopper became king, gained a wife, a crown, and sat upon the throne. The end. I hope you enjoyed the story of Hans Clodhopper. Now it's time to sleep. So fold your hands and let's say a prayer. Lord in heaven, hear my prayer. Keep me in your loving care. Be my guide in all I do. Bless all those who love me too. Amen. I'm Ruthie Hart. Good night and sweet dreams.